Alright, cool. So it's been a while since I made a video. I figure most of my shit's boring, but hell, I'm making one anyways because Dad asked. What we're making is vegetable soup. Because Julie likes it. I don't really eat it. Because I don't eat vegetables. Well, I eat vegetables, but not a lot. I mostly eat meat. It's good for you, but no reason to get into that, and it's practically political. Obviously, I keep my kitchen immaculate, as always. These are super useful. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, talk to this empty room, which is essentially you guys, that's Mom and Dad, while I make some vegetable soup. Okay. Getting your pan hot is kind of an important step that I think a lot of people skip. But whatever. I don't know if you can see it, but these are two broths. Made mostly out of chicken and ham bone, I think. Kind of wild. Sorry, I don't got a professional cameraman, so you're going to have to accept me going on and off a little bit while I get my thing. If you don't watch this video, I will understand. And honestly, I don't even know if you can hear me, but hey, we're just doing what we can. So, step one is just getting the broth in so it can be all warmed up nicely. So when you make broth using actual animal products, you get this cool little topper, which is all fat, which is really good for mood regulation because it helps regulate your hormones. I don't know what genius decided to convince the world that fat's bad for you and the cause of weight gain, but I can assure you he was wrong. Or she, you never know. My trick for getting the little extra bits out of the can is to simply wait for it to warm up a touch and then throw water in, because we're going to need water anyways. Ooh, it smells good. Smell it? No, you can't. So whatever. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but the meat slicer is immediately to my left. That's extremely useful. I actually can make like dried apples with it too, just slice them up real thin. It's super cool. Anyways, so that's what our soup stock, is what it is now, looks like. So that's fun. Just set these things here. So since this is for Julie, mostly carrot and broccoli. That's what she likes. I wash it. I don't really think it's needed, but all these modern chemicals of our space age is, well, it causes a shitload of cancer. It's been proven in court at this point. Now people will deny it up and down still, but I mean, there's profit to be made. By God, you wouldn't want to get in the way of that. It's un-American. Anyhow, take the tops off. I don't have a reason. Simply do it. Same with the tips. There could be a good reason for this. I I guess you're not seeing much of the action. I'm going to use the floor as a shelf for a bit. I don't know if that helps. It's kind of hard to see what the camera sees while being in front of the camera. So we just have to deal with that. Now if I'm on my game, I make these thinner as I go up. You know, because it gets thicker, and this will help it all cook evenly. But since it's just a soup, for one, I'm not very good at doing that. And for two, it's going to cook long enough that it's all going to be thoroughly done. So it really does not actually matter for this. However, practice is one of those things that you can never get enough of, and you can always get it better. So I do it anyways, for the times it does matter. The list of times that does matter presently in all the recipes I make would be none. There's no time. But whatever. Somewhere in this house is potatoes. Now potatoes really do deserve to be washed, because outside of the Roundup, which is glyphosate, they use something to put nitrates in the soil, because rotating crops is just so last century. It's an embarrassment to have to rotate your crops. Also, I mean, beans really just aren't that profitable at the end of the day. But the point I'm getting at is the nitrate or nitrogen adding compound is radioactive. Barely, but it is. And this hardly matters. Believe it or not, it's a weak radiation. For consumed foods, everything's radioactive to some degree. However, really fucks with smokers. It's one of the reasons that smoking is pretty bad for you, is that compound sticks around, and then when you put it to your lungs, and then you got another story. That's a lot worse. And of course, you know, tobacco leaf is what's being burnt, so it gets right in there. That doesn't matter right now. So we're just chopping up potatoes. I'm going for cubes. So it's cooked nicely and they're pretty tasty to eat. That being said, these first two potatoes did not cube because I did it poorly. The easier way is to slice them in half and then do this little routine. It takes twice as long, obviously, but you get a more cube-like shape. How much this matters? Yeah. I don't know. I know when I fry up potatoes it makes a lot of difference. Because like fry shaped fries, not so good. So we're doing it. There are faster ways to chop. I could use my mandolin, but I really do not like the mandolin. And most vegetables actually can get run through the meat slicer extremely effectively. Fruits are a little better. This one I'm thirding for the cubing of, but I hold it like that, mostly because it's big. What was I saying? Oh yeah, but potatoes absolutely cannot go through the meat slicer, because the amount of starch they have in them makes kind of a, well, it pinches it. So you'll get like, oh god, I mean not at all, like maybe an eighth of an inch to a quarter of an inch in, and it just stops. It straight up stops the blade, stops everything. It's a no-go. So potatoes are one of those wonderfully healthy things. It's got enough of the micronutrients in it, micronutrients being not protein, fat, or carbohydrate, but things you still need to eat, like magnesium, that an adult male can actually just straight up live off of potatoes. Now, you'll be a little malnourished on protein, which will lead you to being slightly more sickly, and as mentioned with fat, the lack of it will make you a bit moody, as if eating potatoes alone wouldn't be enough. That being said, that's not the issue today. Today we're just having potatoes because we like them a lot, and they are pretty healthy. Now this tool, which I also use to clean the counter, is particularly helpful at moving large volumes of anything. I mean, it's just a flat piece of metal, but it's called a bread knife or cutter or something. I don't know. This one's Food Network branded, but like, honestly, I can't go on enough about this thing. It's just a curled up piece of metal. Cost me something like $7. And it's still the most useful tool I have in the kitchen, especially if you do it by cost to usefulness. I don't see why anyone wouldn't have it. But then again, there's a lot of things people do that I quite simply do not understand. So they can just enjoy themselves. Next up is broccoli. Broccoli is... talk when I get closer. Broccoli is potentially Julie's favorite food, so that goes in most of her recipes. And it's also an absolutely wonderful little piece of food for pretty much all females, but I would definitely say pre-menopause for sure. I forget exactly what's so good about it, but it does have extra calcium, iron, and magnesium, which is the short list of things that the female body is almost always deficient on in our modern day and age. So, if you ever learn to make broccoli soup, that is a wonderful little thing for any female in your life that is working her way up to a period. Usually about the week in front of it is the time where this is best had. I think that's when the lining starts getting chewed up and so on, and essentially all the systems in your body is gearing up to replace that lining, to eject it and make a new one and lose all that blood. And those kind of things don't happen overnight. You can't just, do that and then refuel in a day like orange juice on dehydration. So you got to get ahead of time. And that really helps and does have a noticeable effect on the severity of the period and its effects on the mind and mood, which probably is the same thing when you think about it. And also tiredness, because iron's a big role. And blood loss is something women get to become very acquainted with throughout their whole life. Neat. So if you're gathering from this, one thing that you're never taught in school about nutrition, if anything, is that men and women have significantly different nutritional needs. Huh, how about that, right? Almost seems obvious when you say it. But I find a lot of people are a little bit surprised by this, or at least they've never really considered if that's even a thing. Probably because we're so concerned with making sure everyone's equal and blah blah blah, and there's no differences between anyone. A 6-foot person can just as easily fit in a small space as a 4-foot person. Anything else would just be unfair. I gotta say something while I'm chopping, right guys? Otherwise it's just a boring video. So now we're leaving the garlic out, and there is a reason for that, as most things have. And that's because, well, when it's exposed to air and not heat, it helps build like antioxidants or whatever in it. I'm not super sure this is true, but I heard someone say it once, and I see no harm in letting it set for 10-15 minutes or while I do the rest of my work, so I do. Salt is tasty. That's why that went in. It also helps the flavors and so on. So there you have it.